Welcome to One-on-One with Expert Flyer. This is your host, Lisa Caslin, and I am so happy to be here with you today. I've got a great guest. You may have seen his show. He is the eponymous host of the Emmy-award-winning PBS series, Joseph Rosendo's Travelscope. Hey, Joseph.
Hey, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me as part of your show today.
Oh, yeah, I am delighted. And, you know, that is just one of the things that you do. I know that you're an author, and you have more than 40 years' worth of travel wisdom that we're going to try to squeeze in here for a couple of minutes anyway. And then, you know, I'd love to get your thoughts on, you know, sort of the way forward. But before we get into all that, tell us a little bit about the show. It's at your 12th season now, and, you know, maybe where we can tune in.
Oh, sure. Well, it's on PBS stations, or every PBS station around the country. It's distributed by American Public Television, which does most of the shows you see on PBS. And we're in our 12th season of shows, over 130 shows. And we cover the world. And we like to, at the beginning, the kind of mantra of our show is join us as we accept the world's invitation to visit. And that's how we travel. We bring our viewers along with us on our experiences as we visit, and we're with a sensibility of accepting someone's invitation to be at their home. And our travel is experiential travel. It's what we believe travelers want. They want to have experiences. They want to have authentic experiences with people, and those are what I try to have. And by watching the show and reading my new book and going to our website, people can. We have a magazine online also. People can be led in the direction or urged to move in the direction of the things they can do to put themselves in situations and to travel with a kind of sensibility that allows them to have these authentic experiences. And that's what's on the show. And we covered the world. We know, like 130 shows. We've been all over. The show also airs on PBS stations and rebroadcast in Canada. And then, of course, we're syndicated in many countries around the world. But here at home, it's your public television station.
All
Thank
right.
God for public television.
Thank God, is right. So, I mean, for somebody to have, you know, this perspective, from across 4 decades is pretty unique. And one of the things that just, you know, came to my mind, and we talked a little bit about it before, you know, we started the interview, is how do you see, you know, travel appetites differing from, let's say, you know, the way back in the 80s to today?
Well, I think that's the biggest change. There are many things have changed: how people travel, how fast they travel, how you can communicate when you're on your travels. I mean, I remember back in the day, you know, we used to pick up our mail when we were traveling for 3 months or so at the American Express office. Well, a lot has changed, but what's really changed is why people travel and what they travel for, their intention when they travel. The days of, you know, if it's Tuesday, it must be Belgium. Let's tick off all the landmarks. I saw the Eiffel Tower. I saw the Arc de Triomphe. You know, I went saw the Colosseum in Rome. Yeah, and now I can go home and brag about it. Those days are gone. People, for a long time now, have not been interested in just ticking off landmarks. They're interested in genuine, authentic experiences with people and learning about cultures. One wonderful thing about PBS is that our viewers are what they call lifelong learners. And travelers, people traveling want to learn things. They want to come back enriched. They want to come back, I like to say, when I travel, I like to come back augmented. I like to come back bigger than I was when I left. And I don't mean just by eating French pastries, although that happens too. I mean from the things we learn and the experiences we have. And that's what's basically changed over the course of the 40 years that I have been a travel writer.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of ironic because, you know, I guess you would say just the implication then would mean that you are closer to the locals, to the people that live in those countries. And I'm just wondering if that's kind of complicated now because of the pandemic issue, and people wanting to be closer to the cultures and all of that. Is it still just pent up? People still want that, but they can't necessarily get it, right?
Oh, I think that if you're talking about expectations of 2021, I think they're going to be very, very high. People are basically chomping at the bit to get out there and have what is important, most important in their life, and that is human interaction and human connections. And yes, that is still going to continue. It's more difficult now, of course. We're not allowed to even see our grandchildren without having a COVID test before we can get together for Thanksgiving or for, so everybody's got to be, and I think that's extremely important, by the way, and wearing masks, and it does tend to separate us. But that will eventually lift, and when it does, people are going to want to have those interactions more. They might be hesitant at first, but eventually it's part of our human nature to want to understand people and to connect with people. We close every Travelscope show with a quote from Mark Twain: "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness." And it's been kind of the mantra that has pushed me forward from the early days of being a travel writer. I did a radio show for over 20 years, and that was my closing statement on that, and so I just incorporated it into the television show. So every show ends with that, and that is our motivating factor is to get out and get connected and to learn about other people. Because we learn about other people, we find out that they're pretty much like us, and they have a lot of interesting things that are different than us that we can celebrate, but they're pretty much human beings just like us, wanting the same kinds of things. And that is so important, particularly at a time when there's so much noise, negative noise, and separation noise, and divisive noise in the world, that to have that one, that's why travel is such a beautiful occupation and such a beautiful endeavor, is because it brings us closer together and it helps us solve problems by learning about each other. And nothing like being on a trip and having these wonderful things happen to you where you get to learn more about people.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So, in your opinion, what does the new way forward look like? What are some of the things that travelers need to account for now that they never did before? How do you prepare?
Well, certainly, the main thing these days is being safe. And not ruining not only your trip but your life by getting ill and getting other people ill. So I thought that the whole thing about masking is not just a matter of protecting yourself from other people. It's taking responsibility for other people and protecting them from you. And so I think that safety is going to have a lot to be very much on people's minds. Who are making the efforts to keep us safe? I mean, who are you traveling with? Who are you staying? I know places like Airbnb and different airlines are going through extraordinary machinations in order to keep us safe. And those are what you got to look for. Car rental companies that are sanitizing the insides of the car before you take over the car. So that's kind of like at the top of the list. Okay, what am I going to be doing that's going to keep me, who am I dealing with, and what am I going to be doing where I can still stay safe? And then having done that, then I think we need to try to normalize our place in the world as much as we can. I mean, with that in the back of our head, I'm keeping social distancing as much as I can. I'm doing all of that this time until there's a vaccine that maybe will solve our problem, but just reaching out, going back, putting fear aside, and moving forward. I mean, I think that's going to be a driving motivation for people. Is And picking what's also helpful in this equation is picking locations so you can start that process. I mean, like for instance, surprisingly, Southeast Asia is actually in a better shape than those of us here in North America, particularly the United States. We have a terrible record here in the United States for where we are in the pandemic, but Taiwan, for instance, has done marvelously well protecting their people and protecting and slowing down the pandemic. So you need to look for destinations that are doing well. Maybe those will be the first ones you choose to go to. Go in an environment which you're protected, and then as much as you possibly can, and what's your comfort level, is then reduce your feeling of separation from other people and attempt to reach out again. I think that's kind of the manner to travel in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you brought up Taiwan and Southeast Asia, because my next question was going to be, assuming all goes well with the vaccine and, people are inoculated, I think spring and summer is definitely, on the horizon for some good travel, right?
Yeah, well, I hope so. I have plans to go to France I had plans to go in August. I had plans to go in October, and we have plans to go in January, and we also have backup plans to go in April. So I hope, we have to get back to work. We have to finish season 12. We were scheduled to go to Ireland, and all that got canceled. So I'm hoping that you're right, and I'm hoping that Southeast Asia is doing really well. And I think that's going to be an area that we hopefully will be opening up, and we'll be able to get back on track again.
Okay. So if you were going to, and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but if you were going to prioritize, and you really wanted to do a big trip, an international trip this summer, say, including Southeast Asia, are there specific countries in that area, and then are there any other areas in the world that you would feel comfortable recommending at this point?
Sure. We have a shoot scheduled for Taiwan. We're going back to Taiwan. We have done a number of shows in Taiwan, and we could look at this as an opportunity too. We could. I know it seems bizarre, but we could use it as an opportunity to explore areas that we're not so familiar with. Like you're right, Europe has been the traditional places where Americans have gone. It's a very popular destination for Americans. Maybe it's time to change our perspective. New Zealand has doing very well with the pandemic. There are countries, countries in the Pacific and certainly Southeast Asia like Taiwan. There are things to learn and discover in those countries, and if you've never even thought about them, you'll be amazed at what's there. I mean, when I first did one show in Taiwan, I didn't know why we would be going. Now we've done 9 in Taiwan. So it shows you how varied that island is, and it's amazing. Culturally, and the people, and the scenic variation there. So that's what I say. So this is an opportunity. So I would recommend a place like Taiwan. Our shoot is going to be Taiwan and Thailand, which has done better. But the problem right now is that the restrictions. If you go to these countries, you're going to have to spend 2 weeks in a hotel room before they allow you to go and explore, and nobody wants to do that. So we're waiting for a time when that restriction is at least reduced, and we're allowed in to travel normally if we're safe. We're not bringing anything in, then we can, and they'll be checking that out, then we can travel as normally as possible. So I would recommend that. And I'd recommend outdoor activities. I would recommend trips that involve the great outdoors. I mean, there's so many natural treasures in this world. There are many right here in our country, of course, and that's another avenue people should be thinking about. If you're worried about big international trips, start with a big U.S. trip to places that are same criteria. places that are handling the pandemic well, that are going that and take it seriously, and that they're going to be taking care of you, and you're going to not be walking into some kind of hotbed of infection. So that would be, even in our country, there are places like that. And outdoor activities, I know my stepdaughter and my son-in-law and their family, our family, has done a lot of camping. Even during this period of time, have gone and used the beautiful national parks here in California, Yosemite and along the Big Sur and places like that. Being outside, they've able to be distanced from people, and they're not in closed environments with a lot of people. So those kinds of destinations are to put on your list too. Trips that involved horseback riding, camping, ranching, hikes into the mountains if you're physically able to do that, and those kinds of there are a lot of options. We shouldn't be afraid of traveling. We just need to be more discerning about where we travel and how we travel.
That's it. That's true. And I think that a lot of people who are travel lovers but may not be so sophisticated with kind of getting their heads wrapped around a process that will ensure their safety is what we might be missing, because there isn't, real consistency that people feel that they can rely upon. So, for example, you take the island of the Dominican Republic, right?
Right.
There are no restrictions. You can just go there now, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question is, okay, so there's no restrictions. I can fly there, and there's no quarantine, so then it must be safe. But is it?
Yeah, well, that's right. Those are the questions you have to ask. Is it? And does their idea of safety, does that match mine? My
right.
comfort level, does it match mine? Are they? What are they doing to keep me safe? Now, destinations like that, who are dealing with international travelers, who want international travelers, are doing things, are making efforts to make us feel comfortable. We just need to we need to be aware, and we need to double check, and we need to realize what our level of comfort is on travel, what our level of risk is too, and make sure that it is being done for us. And if it isn't, then they can say that they're safe as much as they want. But if we're not feeling safe, then it isn't safe. I mean, and one person's safety level or risk aversion level is different than another person's risk aversion level, and so we don't have to feel like we need to be as brave as the next guy. We need to be as brave as we want to be and as we feel comfortable being. And you're right. We need to check that out. Dominican Republic we can fly to doesn't mean necessarily you want to be there. You got to find out.
Yeah. I mean, if you're an intrepid traveler in your 20s, your safety level is going to be different than a retiree who wants to travel the world, right? So
absolutely.
It's due diligence is important, and don't be cavalier about that. That's great. So I want to talk a little bit about the book, and I know it's chock full of all the journeys that were really impressive to you, and also some great tips on bargaining and planning and all that good stuff. So talk a little bit about the book. How did you come to decide that now is the time to do this?
Well, I've said that the pandemic, and for all its horror, offers some opportunities. And this was something that I wanted to do for a long time, but being in production and just living life had kept me from actually focusing and following through on it. This period of time we were locked down, all our trips were canceled. There was really nothing we could do but be in the house. Really did push me to make that happen. And over the course of the last 8 months, it took about 8-9 months to get it all together. I've managed to do that, and it's been something I've felt would be useful and enjoyable and helpful for people. And so Musings, the Short, Happy Pursuit of Pleasure and Other Journeys is out in Amazon and on Apple Books, and it is about a journey. It is about the journey. My personal journey. There's a lot for people's journeys. There's, like you say, there's tips, there's destination pieces, and it's written. They're short, easy to read, and fun to read, I hope, and intriguing. And then it's about my journey. It's about the trip, that my travel experience, if you will, through life. And it's funny, when I was writing this column called Musings, which is how this came about. It was part of a newsletter I started in 1986 and had in print till about 2004, and now it's on our website, Travelscope.net, as an online magazine. When I started it, it struck me that the stories about my journey to become a travel writer and through life were kind of written like a travel story. They had a beginning, a middle, and an end. There were important stops along the way. There were souvenirs that you'd pick up along the way. Some of them would be useful, and some of them would be not. You'd have to leave some of those and acquire other ones that would be helpful on the journey. The destination was guaranteed, whether it's going to France or living your life. So the trip became a nice metaphor for in keeping with my travel. Talking about in terms of traveling, living, and the things that I felt help travelers get the most out of their travel experiences. Often those are the same kinds of things that will help people get the most out of this journey called life. And that's kind of what the book tracks. It's a combination of helpful tips and destination pieces, and then it tracks my journey along the way with intimate tales from my childhood travels, my family, my Cuban heritage, and how that came into play, and the different things that we all are face as we take this trip that we all hope is going to be long, adventurous, educational. I love doing our travel show, Just Rosendo's Travelscope on PBS, because our viewers are considered to be lifelong learners. And all of us, I think that's a good tip for all of us. We all should be lifelong learners. There's always something that life can offer. I like to say when I come back from a trip, I want to come back augmented, bigger than I was before I left, and it's not just from eating French pastries, which although oftentimes that does happen also, but come back, bigger and more prepared to continue the journey for as long as you've been granted the time to do it, and it's so that's in the book. That kind of philosophy. We close every Travelscope television show with a quote from Mark Twain: "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness." And I think that where I learn most and become most augmented is by the experiences I've had with people, and some of those are in the book as well. So I hope it's going to be an enjoyable experience for people. I mean, there are things in there that will certainly anger some people, and some that will make people laugh, and hopefully some that will touch them as well. But I'm just hoping that people just come along on the ride with me.
Absolutely, I'm ready to go.
Good.
It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I know we could probably do 4 shows with you alone, because you're just a bucket of wisdom. So
I'm happy to do it. Anytime you want me back, I'm available.
Good. So I want to just let people know where they can find you. Your site is Travelscope.net, correct?
Exactly. That's travelscope.net.
And then for the book, they can just look up Musings, The Short, Happy Pursuit of Pleasure and Other Journeys, and they can get it right there, right? You have it in print and ebook form?
We do, and it's on Amazon and in print and also in other places, but basically on Amazon in print and digital form, and on Apple Books, iBooks in digital form as well. And if they go to our website, they can go directly to Amazon. They can go to our website. They'll see the Travelscope. They'll see the book right on the home page. And if people want to contact us directly through the site, and I'd be happy to autograph the book for them as well on top of that, or whatever people are, it's the holiday time. Some people are getting the book for gifts. That'd be great.
Oh, wonderful. Listen, the best to you and to your lovely wife, Julie. I hope you have a wonderful, safe holiday, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Same to you and yours, Lisa. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.